Against the Gods. Chapter 1. Inchua, Xiaochua. Inchua's consciousness gradually awakened. What's going on? How is it that I have not died? I vividly remember that I jumped off Cloud's Inn cliff. How can I still be alive? Somehow my body's not in pain, and I do not even feel the slightest discomfort. How is this happening? Inchua suddenly opened his eyes and quickly sat up. He found himself in a comfortably soft bed, with a red banner hanging above him, rendering a festive atmosphere. Ah, Xiaochua, you woke up! A girl's gasp of surprise was heard from his ear, and the same girl appeared in his line of sight. At a glance, the girl dressed in green looked to be 15 or 16 years of age. She was as fair as snow, with charming rosy lips and a delicate nose. A touching look of deep surprise was expressed by eyes as clear and transparent as a pool of translucent spring water. Her face exuded dazzling gentleness and softness. At this young age, she already exhibited such charm. Who can possibly imagine what sort of beauty she would be in the future? Staring at the nearby girl, Inchua took a close look and unconsciously let two words escape his lips. Little aunt. The fair girl lifted her jade-like hands onto Inchua's forehead and relaxed soon after. With a joyful expression, she spoke. How delightful! Your temperature is almost back to normal. You nearly scared me to death, Xiaochua. Are you okay? Tell me if you feel uncomfortable anywhere. In the face of the girl's eyes, that filled with deep concern, Inchua woodenly shook his head. He stared openly into space with a vacant gaze. Rest here for a while. I'll go and tell your grandpa that you're awake. Today is your day. When you fainted, your grandfather almost went crazy and personally went to find Dr. Sato for you. The girl was in such a rush that she did not notice the abnormality with Inchua's current state. She pushed Inchua's shoulders, signaling him to lie back on the bed, and hurriedly left. As the door shut, Inchua sat up on the bed, hands clutching his head. This was one of the cities in the far east, located in one of the 7 empires of the profound sky continent, Floating Cloud City, and he was the only grandson of the 5th elder in the Xiao clan, Xiaochua. He had just turned 16 this year. That was his current identity. Suddenly, his memory overlapped with Azure Cloud Continent's 20 or so years of memory, and he burst into confusion. If I am Xiaochua, then why do I have memories of Azure Cloud Continent? Is it because I traveled to this body after I died in Azure Cloud Continent? No, I'm obviously Xiaochua. This entire room is familiar to me, and I clearly remember all the events of my childhood. Everything from my memory was from personal experience, and there is no way I would steal another's memory. Then was everything from Azure Cloud Continent all just a dream? Was it only after I jumped off young cliff that I truly woke up? But the memories of living in Azure Cloud Continent were as clear as day. How could those 24 years of love and hatred be only just a dream? What the hell is going on? Inchua, the now Xiaochua, stilled for a long time as he slowly calmed down and settled his thoughts. It was still early in the morning, and the sky has not fully brightened. The day was his Xiao clan's big wedding day. 2 hours ago, he was woken up by his little aunt and put on his red wedding robe. He ate the porridge his little aunt personally made and lost all the strength in his body. He did not remember anything that happened after that. He did not wake up until now. A strange smell came from his lips, and Xiaochua's lips tucked slightly. His expression darkened. This is murdering heart powder. In those years that he lived on the Azure Cloud continent, with the sky poison pearl in his body, Wuxia learned about all the poison present in the entire world, and he could be said that there is no poison he was not familiar with. He could identify a person's name and effect with just a whiff. At the same time, because the sky poison pearl, he was impervious. He could not be hurt by any poison, no matter how toxic it was. Murdering heart powder was made by combining a unique sawgrass and purple stria from a cherry apple tree. If dissolved in water, the poison is colorless and tasteless. A person will lose his life 10 seconds after the poison entered the body, and nobody would know the cause of death, for it was also a traceless poison. Xiaochua's eyes clouded over and instantly understood what had happened. In fact, he did not really faint, but instead he drank the porridge containing the murdering heart powder, but was poisoned to death. He was born in Azure Cloud continent, but after he leapt off Yuan Cliff, he was actually reincarnated in this world inside a dead body. If one were to hear this, it would sound like it came from one of the stories in Arabian Nights, but that was the only reasoning Xiaochuo could imagine. Oh, wait a minute. If it really was like that, then this body should have no antitoxin ability. How come he was safe from the murdering heart powder on his lips when the previous body's owner died not too long ago? A slightly strange feeling came from the palm of his left hand. Xiaochuo lifted his left hand and was surprised to find that there was a circular green imprint on his palm. This shape, this color, this size was clearly the same as the sky poison pearl. Before jumping off Yuan Cliff, he had desperately swallowed the sky poison pearl, but he did not actually know what would happen to him. This mark on his hand was unexpectedly the sky poison pearl, and it actually crossed over with him to this world, as if in a trance. Xiaochuo stared at the sky poison pearl and subconsciously whispered, "Sky poison pearl." As his voice dropped off, the green mark on his palm suddenly released a green light. Immediately, a slight dizziness came over him, and he unconsciously closed his eyes. When he opened them, his entire world was flooded in green. This world of green was wide and open. There were no boundaries to be seen, and there was a faint scent of the sky poison pearl throughout this space. After a long daze, Xiaochuo understood that he had entered the world inside the sky poison pearl. Who would have thought that inside the sky poison pearl there would be such a wide and open world? What was even more unimaginable was that after he'd ate the sky poison pearl without thinking of the consequences, the sky poison pearl had actually traveled along with him, and even seemed to have become a part of his body. If there was a way in, there must be a way out. Xiaochuo closed his eyes and concentrating his thoughts. Suddenly, the world of green hastily dissipated, and when he opened his eyes again, in his vision was the room he was familiar with. Staring at the faint green mark on his palm, Xiaochuo slowly smiled. Even though it was not known why this ridiculous event occurred, not only had the reincarnated, but he also retained memories from both lives. Maybe even the gods couldn't watch the suffering of the two lives, took pity, and gave him a chance to live again. Wuxia was the victim of persecution from Azure Cloud Continent's countless strongest individual. Although he died in the end, he shook the world by himself. How awe-inspiring and astonishing was that. However, his body right now was only average. No, speaking without restraint, it could only be considered the epitome of weakness. In profound sky continent, profound strength was most important. Although Xiaochuo was born in the Xiao clan and was even the grandchild of the strongest fifth elder Zhao Li, his profound power was still at the level 1 in the elementary profound realm. Even though he was already 16, He started training his spirit power when he was 7.5, entered elementary profound level 1 at the age of 8, and didn't improve for an entire 8 years. He was mocked by all the Xiao clan. Afterwards, Xiaoli invited Floating Cloud City's top-class doctor, Dr. Seto, to examine his body. Shockingly found that Xiao Jue was born with damaged profound veins. The damage was so severe that it was almost impossible to recover from. In this state, Xiao Jue was stagnant at first level elementary profound realm and could never improve further no matter how hard he tried. Even if he trained with his life on the line, he would stay at the level of the elementary profound realm his entire life. This kind of person was unquestionably the lowest existent in the profound sky continent, and was the total laughingstock within the Xiao clan, if not for his grandfather Xiaolin being the strongest in the Xiao clan, who also could even be said to be the strongest in the Floating Cloud City. No one would bat an eye against him. Xiao clan was one of the 3 major families that train in the ways of the profound in the Floating Cloud City, and has limitless strong entities in a large number of youth coming forth from the same generation. Xiao Jue can be said to be an unnecessary existent. Even if he died someday, not many, except a few, would care. But there were some today that actually tried to murder him, using extremely hard to get and expensive murdering heart powder. Xiao Jue clearly knew the reason why now. Because today was the wedding day between him and Qinye. Qinye, being the same age as him, was also 16. However, at such a young age, her profound strength was stated to have reached the 10th level of the elementary profound realm, almost breaking out of the elementary level and stepping into the nascent profound realm. She was the only one in 100 years that has reached this level of profound strength at the age of 16 in the Jia clan. There are even rumors that, if she continued to develop this way, a few decades later, she would be the first person in the history of the Ji clan to ever step into the Earth profound realm, or may even be able to reach the Sky profound realm that no one in Floating Cloud City had even thought of reaching in the past few centuries. More importantly, she was not only shockingly astute, but also extremely beautiful, and was considered to be the most beautiful girl by the entire Floating Cloud City. All of Floating Cloud City's youth with some level of competency drooled over her. If the Jia clan started to look for grooms, the line waiting would probably be long enough to stretch between the south and north gates of Floating Cloud City. This pinnacle of a girl with both intelligence and beauty in the Floating Cloud City was actually marrying the generation's most worthless youth with no future at all. Who knew how many people were stomping their feet in anger and jealousy? This was wholly a case of a dazzling lotus flower planted on a pile of manure that no one would ever bother to look at. The ones that had unrequited love for Qinye, of course, held both extreme jealousy and hatred toward Xiao Jue, even more unwilling to give up, and would try to assassinate him by poison. As the current Xiao Jue thought about it, this situation didn't seem to be bizarre at all. Women are really the root of troubles. Xiao Jue got off to the bed and soliloquized, but as he thought of the beauty and charm of Jiyue that could tip over a whole city, he opened his mouth and laughed heartily. Still, I get to marry such a bride. This really was a good beginning.